I decided to attempt one of the hardest challenges in Resident Evil history, by beating a Resident Evil 4 Remake randomizer. But that's not all. There will be 3 times the amount of normal enemies. Enemies can also spawn in areas where they are not supposed to, essentially making it 6 times the amount of normal enemies. Those enemies will also be randomized, with basically no limit on what enemies can spawn in any location. There will be randomized enemy drops, and a random inventory loadout when I start the game. This by itself does sound quite challenging, but here's the twist. This was permadeath, so if I died, I would have to go back to the very beginning of the game on a brand new seed. The only thing that I did to make this challenge even somewhat bearable was to put Ashley in the armor, and you'll see why this is almost essential throughout the video. I also want to give a quick shout out to GamerSups who have just launched their new collection, Fingerbang, complete with a waifu cup, t-shirt, jacket and joggers. You can use code YEETUS for 10% off your order. Jumping straight into the run, I check my loadout and it's a fairly decent one. We get the XM96E1, which is Wesker's handgun from Mercenaries, and the bolt-action rifle, as well as a Lunkerbass, which is great for selling early on to get some money and some spinels. This merchant is added into the randomizer as a quality of life feature, so I check what he has for sale, sell the Lunkerbass, and get just enough spinels to buy the body armor, which is absolutely essential to make getting through the early game much easier. The merchant is also selling the Stingray, and after comparing the stats to the bolt-action rifle, I make the decision to sell the bolt-action and buy the Stingray. I was hoping for a better exclusive. I'm mainly looking for the damage exclusive, which will be between 2 times and 3 times its max damage, but I was stuck with stopping power, which just increases the chance of stunning enemies. Nowhere near as good as damage. I upgrade the damage slightly on the handgun and progress, checking my inventory and finding that I am blessed with the biosensor scope, the best scope in the game, and it is great for taking out those pesky regenerators. Before I've even made it to the cabin, I'm ambushed by enemies that aren't supposed to spawn until the castle. Although the sound on this gun is actually so annoying, I'm not gonna lie to you. Ow. The metal gong gun. The birds also drop randomized loot, so it's a nice idea for me to kill them and see what they drop. Reaching the cabin, I'm already getting jumped by Navistadors and also getting slapped by Plagas. And since I've sold the Lunkerbass, the only heal I have left is a fish. And it's already not looking too good, bruv. And when trying to leave the cabin, I'm already getting a taste of the difficulty that this challenge is going to contain. Yeah, the 3-shot kind of early, but... God, that mod is actually so nice. Oh, another one. There's an extra merchant outside the cabin, so I sell some of the treasures I got and upgrade the firepower of the handgun another time before pressing onwards, where I encounter a very strong enemy, a Verdugo. Let me put this into perspective for you. We usually don't fight Verdugo until the end of chapter 11. We have barely even started chapter 1, and we have to face off against one of the toughest bosses in the game. Thankfully, the HP of enemies in this mod scale. Verdugo is usually an absolute unit when you fight him in the vanilla game. But this early on, he isn't as strong, and when I take him out, he drops the Staff of Royalty, a treasure that you don't usually get until the final chapter. And if Verdugo wasn't enough, the game decided to throw 5 chainsaw enemies at me. And if you've played Resident Evil 4, you know it's an instant death if these guys even sneeze near you. There is in fact 3 of them. Now that I've finally reached the village, and oh god, were there a lot of enemies. I take out a big bunch with the heavy nade, hoping that they would drop me back some goodies, and then start to head towards the house that has the cutscene, using my only flashbang to help me. But all is well because I have a sniper rifle and I can shoot the bell, skipping the village in its entirety and sending the oldies to bingo. So you might be wondering like, if you've got the sniper rifle, why are you going to nade these guys? Well, look what I'm getting back. 2 large resources, money, shotgun shells, a flashbang. With the village now safe, I loot the entire area, visit the merchant to buy one of the small keys, and use it on the locked drawer in this house, giving me a pretty useless charm. Entering the farm, I am ambushed by two of the most annoying enemies in the game, the metal shield soldiers from the island and the little spiders. Neither of them do a lot of damage, but they just cause such a nuisance. Who doesn't love a good old babushka? Oh god. Yeetus! Boom! Scanned. Bidor! Bidor! With that wave of enemies defeated, I go back to the merchant and upgrade the pistol to max damage, capping out at 3.39, which is pretty decent. I kill Verdugo before he can fly to heaven, head to the top of the barn, taking out the enemies hiding inside, then jump in and jump out of the barn to trigger the enemies to break in without putting myself in any danger. Very different game, yeah. Stonks. With most of the enemies taken out, I drop down and hoover up all of the delicious loot and take out yet another Verdugo. And then straight after, I take out a savage mutt on the roof, that I dubbed Yeet Dog. Whoa! We got Yeet Dog sequel, boys. There's a ton of basic enemies on the other side of the bridge, which I can easily take out, and then head to the pathway with the exploding boulder, which contains mostly villagers. With those enemies defeated, I can head towards the lake area, where I encounter the first red zealot of the run. He can't really turn the enemies into plagas like in the main game, but he is still very annoying, because he can still stun me when he shouts, "Gloria las plagas!" I take a while destroying all of the enemies and collecting all of the loot before heading into the final cabin of the chapter, where I'm greeted with yet another Verdugo. I did not even hear him, bro. And that's like 5 Verdugos in the first chapter already. Man, this is going to be tough. Extreme gameplay. I might have seen him somewhere. And survey says... Oh, almost got it. I don't almost have it. How much does this sell for? What about double? And an emerald? Nah, I'll wait. I make sure I have everything collected from the area, sending my weapons to storage, and proceed to the prison section. For the prison section, I capped the amount of enemies that can spawn in each room to 1 because you have no equipment other than 1 kitchen knife and 1 green herb. And if you get a bad combination of enemies, let's say 2 Novistadors in every room, you'll just die and there's not really anything you can do about it. But don't worry, this is the only area in the game where I made this change. I get through the area with ease, recover my gear, and speak to the merchant. He's selling me the first case upgrade, which will be essential for all of the items I like to hoard, and I also start to upgrade the sniper rifle, which will be my main damage dealer early on in this run. Oh my god, getting stunned here. This is bad. It's pretty cheeks, isn't it? Pretty cheeks. More shield enemies. Game. Is it my mouse that's... I think my mouse is broken. I remember having this issue before, actually. I forgot what the game it was. I should have bought a new mouse and keyboard on Black Friday. I managed to get through the next area pretty well, even with a few close encounters. I then spend the next 15 minutes killing the onslaught of enemies in the Dynamite village and getting as much loot as I can before using the hexagonal symbol to progress to the next area. I now need to fight my way to the chief's house, taking on way more enemies than usual. It's mostly just normal enemies with a couple of tough guys thrown in the mix, and when I reach the chief's house, I add a new meaning to blowing up the bog. Eventually, I clear out the entire house and can easily move on to chapter 3. But the loot goblin inside me can't take the fact that I missed a lot of items due to lack of space. So I send my weapons to storage, pick up everything that I can, and head to the merchant to sell some of the loot. And during the process of doing this, I come across the first bug of the randomizer. My guns literally stop working. My gun's broke, boys. Gun no makey noise, bro. No bullets coming out of the gun. Oh, this gun, is this broken as well? Oh, bro, all my guns are broke. I believe this is a bug due to Wesker's handgun. I've never had this issue before this run, but apparently the weapon is very buggy when used in the main game. I had to reload my whole game in order to fix it, but we're back in business and can head to chapter 3. Starting chapter 3, I make sure to save everyone's favourite doggo and find some Ganados that seem to be fighting for me instead of against me, bringing in the dynamite. Re-entering the village square, I'm ambushed from multiple angles, so I go back the way I came and funnel all the enemies into this one pathway. I got that one, to be honest. Ooh. Oh. There you go. After fighting my way to the town hall, I disrupt the villager meeting, taking everyone out and eventually getting to the merchant, who is now selling the Red 9. But I decided to just repair my body armor and be on my way. The graveyard was pretty stacked with enemies, so I had to run back towards the merchant to get the sniper rifle and make sure I don't get overrun. Onto the back of the church, and I definitely had a bit of a squeaky bum moment. Shot. Oh, that was almost a rip into the next dimension. Now that I've reached the suspended bridge section, it gets a bit chaotic because there are so many spawn points in this area. After clearing out the bridge completely, there's a chainsaw Ganado waiting outside the Colosseum. Really? I take her out and then throw a flashbang, stunning all of the enemies waiting for me, but more importantly, killing all of the crows, which drop a ton of loot. I can then take out all of the enemies safely and then head to the merchant. Bro, I've still not got space. I start to take on the huge wave of enemies outside the fishing village, but then realise I have no knife and no body armor. So I have to rush back to the merchant to fix this problem. But the enemies don't respect that this is supposed to be a safe space for Leon and the merchants. The great thing about this area is there's only one way for the enemy to reach me if they don't have any ranged weapons, and that's by coming all the way up this ladder. The same thing applies to the fishing village. Once I have dropped down and activated the enemies, I can wait at the bottom of this ladder and funnel all of the enemies towards me. Pushing on through the fishing village, more enemies spawned. Some of them pretty tanky, and even a chainsaw ganado, and I'm starting to regret not bringing the sniper rifle, because I'm prioritizing not missing any loot over my survival at this point. Something I recommend that you don't try at home. With the gas acquired for the boat, the last thing I do in chapter 3 is head back to the merchant, sell the stuff I don't need, and get ready for the start of chapter 4. Del Lago is a cakewalk though, because his health is modded to 1 HP, so this just takes 1 spear. And it's also an Orca, which is an Easter egg from the main dev of RE4 Biorand, Intel Orca. Chapter 4, which usually starts off pretty quiet, was way more intense than usual, as there are so many extra spawn points ahead of me, with nowhere really to escape. Well, this thing kinda slaps. On to the part where there are usually enemies to fight. I throw a flashbang for safety just in case I get rushed by any strong enemies. Thankfully, it was just a cow and a shield enemy. Oh sh**. I was literally about to say the game's been very kind with me for enemies. It's given me nothing challenging. This tunnel can be super sketchy because you can have chainsaw wielding enemies waiting for you on the other side and there's not much that you can do about it. Thankfully, there was just some normal enemies in the entire tunnel. A quick pit stop to the merchant where he's finally selling a case upgrade, which is much needed for this chapter as there is just so much stuff to collect. But he's also selling the Killer 7, which by default is the best gun for this challenge, but it can also roll really well or really bad, and I'll let my reaction tell you how it rolled. Killer 7? And survey says 145 damage on a Magnum, 7 bullets in the magazine, and good reload speed. Literally the best Killer 7 I have ever seen in this randomizer. Even the chat was impressed with how good this weapon was. Now I need to lock in and not lose this run, so I start off by going to grab the apostate's head from the cavern next to the merchant. The rifle is so good here as it allows me to pop heads from a safe distance and also do a huge amount of damage to the strong enemies in a small amount of time. Yeah? We're doing this, buddy. I then head to the optional small island, usually completely vacant, but it's now infested with zombies. Luckily, there's no chainsaws, elite enemies, or anything like that can make this tiny island a complete misery. After I've looted the small island, I then head to the large island that you go through on chapter 1. It only has a couple of extra enemies compared to normal, so I loot it and then head up to the shrine. There's a couple of items here, but going up here also spawns the dogs on the way back, which has now just been replaced by a buttload of enemies of all variety. I wasn't really in any trouble here, however, because they can only come from one way and that's through this door. A quick trip to the merchant once again to sell everything that I don't need and make some space for more loot. I then head to the legendary pork pursuit island, making sure that I don't break the Geneva Convention by letting all the chickens live. The last thing I need to do now is grab the Blasphemer's head from the cove, but that was a lot easier said than done. Don't even fucking think about it. LOL, did I actually kill every single one with a nade? I know there was dynamite in there, but what the fuck? I picked up the Blasphemer's head and go to the final destination, the small boat in the middle of the lake, which doesn't really have any good loot. Finally, I head to the cave and use the 2 heads, giving me the church insignia, the item that is needed to progress forwards. I head back to the merchant and prepare myself for the El Gigante fight, selling all of my treasures and upgrading the firepower on the Killer 7. The El Gigante fight is usually pretty easy, so let's see what this mod has in store for me. Ooh. Contact YouTubers in Japan. How am I going to do that, bro? I don't speak Japanese. Oh, I can't move, bro. What the fuck? Oh, really? Rolled stun lock, poor guy. Shield soldiers, fast brutes, and Verdugo were all crammed into the small Colosseum. Luckily, I had plenty of flash grenades and was able to control the fight easy enough. Once again, I loot the entire area, head back to the merchant to sell excess ammo, healing and treasures, and then head back to the church, which is now repopulated with tons of enemies. Now that the church is empty, I gave chat a very tough choice. You guys can decide his fate. Have sex with him, murder, kill. Any cow you don't kill holds a great gun in a case. Now that the yapping device has been rescued, I need to get Ashley out of the church safely, which will be much easier now that she's in armor. Like I said in the intro, Ashley will be wearing armor for this run. It is possible to do it without the armor, but if I get bad RNG, it's possible that Ashley will just die to some enemies and there is nothing that I can do about it. And it makes it more of a babysitting simulator and less about combat interactions with the enemies. There's an extra merchant added behind the church, which is actually selling the Striker, a shotgun that can be decent or awful, depending on how it rolls. I needed to make space for the Striker, and I did so by sending the sniper rifle to storage. A small mistake because there is no typewriter at the merchant. I have to go back into the smaller part of the church and get it back out. No matter, I check out the Striker and it's very mediocre, but it will do its job by controlling enemies if I get overrun. I managed to creep back into the church and get the sniper rifle out of storage, and then start obliterating all of the enemies trying to rush me. Holy sh**. We got Yeet Spider before Yeet Dog 2. Oh my god. He's going for her. That's fine. Oh my god, I got the gun bug. And my gun stopped working. This is the same problem as before, and I had to restart my entire game to fix this. I reload and start popping heads once again. With the graveyard clear, I get to the merchant and make the executive decision to sell Wesker's pistol and use the Red 9 instead. The stats of the Red 9 at the time weren't as good as the XM, but if the game was going to keep crashing with the XM, I'd rather just use the Red 9. The return to the village square is one of the harder segments. I can have enemies coming towards me through the window, and they can come up behind me via the ladder. So I have to keep my eyes and ears open to make sure nothing catches me off guard. With the village section cleared, I go back to the Chief Mendez house and head to the attic now that I have Ashley, and it almost turned out more hassle than what it was worth. This wouldn't even do anything anyway because they can't do anything to her in here. They'll just pick her up and drop her. Now I'm in danger. I go back to the village square, taking out the last pack of enemies before heading onto the farm, once again full of enemies. It takes a while to clear out the farm, but it's now safe for me to go to the merchant and start getting ready for the cabin fight, which, as you can imagine, is absolute chaos. Incoming crash, Jesus. I got stunned, but that's okay, I guess. Oh, this is kind of awkward. Oh god. You need to die. Easy. The cabin fight is done and dusted. Chapter 6 and the hardest chapter so far awaits. The merchant is now selling the best charm in the game, the strike charm, giving me the 8% movement speed upgrade. I equip it and start to take on the checkpoint. There's so many enemies here, but thankfully they can only come from one area. The last part of this area actually contains some stronger enemies, but they get dispatched with ease. Now it's onto the main checkpoint area, and the amount of enemies is starting to get overwhelming, as well as the strength of them. There's a couple of Garradors lying in wait here, but thankfully they can't get to me just yet. So I take out any Chainsaw Ganados, JJs, Verdugos, and Chief Mendezes that are lurking around. Damn, that is a lot of strong enemies in such a small area. Not to mention that there is another Mendez chilling above the room with the crank. Time for the boss fight, which is usually Bella Sisters, but is now just 2 standard Ganados. I take them out and then defend myself and Ashley from the onslaught of enemies. How are you not dead? What the? Okay, we need to control the fight. Let's reload this. Reload this. Heavy nade. No, this is good for CC right now, because they're all kind of weak, unarmored. Some DJ Bones. With the fight under control, I take out a couple of the stragglers and also defeat all of the enemies blocking the path to the Mendez chase sequence. As prepared as I can be, it's time for the Mendez Hill, which is one of the worst parts in the entire game. Oh god. Oh, we're in fucking trouble here. Oh god. The hill was made a lot easier with Ashley in the armor, but I still had a horrible combination of enemies as well as 2 chainsaw ladies waiting for me right after the cutscene. I take them out and head to the merchant and prepare for the Mendez boss fight now. And I don't think you're prepared for what you're about to see. Chief Mendez might be down, but I'm not out of the woods yet. As soon as I load into Chapter 7, I start getting rushed by all kinds of enemies. There's so many enemies that my frame rate is starting to drop, from 120 to around 70. I take out a few of the standard enemies before I get rushed by a Garrador. Luckily, Ashley was in the armor here, otherwise I would have been in a spot of bother. Okay, so Ashley would be downed on the floor right now. Okay, but she'd be downed over there. And now I would kill him and pick her up. Oh god. It's just standard enemies that are hanging around now, so take out all of them just to make sure I am safe to go to the merchant. But the merchant wasn't selling anything of note at this point, so I just cleaned up my inventory and made sure I had enough ammo before moving on. The next room is a little bit packed. plenty of Navistadors and a couple of Garradors, which I can take out safely from the top of the stairs. There's a lot of enemies standing between me and the catapult section, but I wasn't really in any danger. But one weird thing happened. Ashley got stuck in one of the earlier rooms. I mean, I wasn't complaining because she'd be out of the way and not causing me any trouble, even though she is an armor and can't die. Now that I've got the cannon, every single enemy is one shot, so I can empty out the area and then take all of that scrumptious loot. Entering the main part of the castle, I take on the enemies that spawn after the cutscene. Not too many of them and not too difficult, but Ashley starts to give me some problems. But yesterday and see if she gets stuck, because if she gets stuck back in the main hall, then it's good. Oh, she's stuck. She's glitched and won't go up the wall. The options were to no-clip through the wall using the trainer, or restart my game. I opted to restart my game first, and then this happened. Oh, what the f***? Ashley, bro. Yep, 3 chainsaw enemies spawned and scared the life out of me. The Killer 7 took no prisoners, however. Thankfully, Ashley was working as intended, and I can progress onto the Garrador fight. But I think the Garrador needs to hit the gym because he has lost a lot of weight. And what's the enemy? And it's just a very underwhelming Navistador. Once again, there's tons of enemies. They're very awkward, but not too strong. Other than one of those super duper regenerators that's hiding in the corner. I knew there was something in here. Moving on, I enter the sword room, and after dealing with the immediate threats, I notice a few Garradors locked behind the gate. They can't get to me, so I opt to kill them while the gate is closed, but I will be forfeiting the valuable loot. Ooh. I'll check that later, but... Back to the main hall, but this time on the top part. Lots of common enemies to take out. I unlock the gate and battle my way through to the save room, and get ready for the most iconic challenge of Resident Evil 4, the Waterhall, but with triple the amount of enemies. Lol, he still goes to the left, even though it's a different enemy. I wonder what causes that. That did not sound good. Oh my god, imagine that killed me. Thank god I moved.
Oh, that's what I see. Get off me. We had a mad chainsaw. Oh my god. So I could save her here, it's fine. Like, she just stands in front of you, like... Oh my god. She's bugging up. This isn't too bad. What? Oh, there's an Avistral there. He might block the way for me. And there as well. They're helping me. They're helping me, guys. I'll can take it, man. Oh, God. Oh, sh. Can I tell her to do this?
Let's go.
No.
No problem.
Oh, they're coming in. They've decided they're coming in.
I got very lucky on the second part of the waterhall. Some Navistadors that were too fat were blocking each of the doorways leading to the upper path, making it a lot less congested than previous attempts and allowed me to not get overwhelmed. Finally, I loot the entirety of the waterhall and head on to chapter 8, getting immediately ambushed when I spawn in. Straight back into the chaos, and as I load in, I realised I can make this part much easier by throwing a flash and going towards the waterhall and funneling all of the enemies through this door.
Ah! Didn't even see him down there. What the f. Yeah, that was always going to crash, wasn't it? I don't even know if I saved. No, I should have had an autosave. I should have had an autosave. Bruh.
I did in fact not have an autosave, so I had to do this fighting again.
This gun's broken, bro.
The couple of Garradors are blocking one of the pathways, killing some enemies and also stopping me from getting overwhelmed. This mad chainsaw was really scaring me though, and I was afraid he would just clip through the door and kill me. So I did what any normal person would do, and I removed his walking device.
Is that everyone dead? Surely not. You know, he went on a rampage.
The Garradors have taken out the majority of enemies, so I dispose of them and pick up all of the items. Behind the previously locked door, there is a couple more Garradors, but I think they need to start taking a Zempic as they are a little bit too beefy and can't squeeze through the door. I take them out, and for the third room in a row, there are two Garradors that actually contain their biggest weakness in their name: doors. I now enter the castle battlements and get ambushed after the cutscene. Have a look at all the enemies for anything that is particularly dangerous, and then take them all out. And behind the door that needs to be solved, there's a few enemies that are no match for my sniper rifle. Now I move on to the main part of the castle battlements, where I make my way through and take out the El Gigante at the end with the cannon. And to start chapter 10, I'm now reunited with the yapping device, and also about to be ambushed from two separate angles, a position that I really don't want to be in. So I flash both the doors before exiting the save room and head back towards the battlements, funneling the enemies through this single door. Once they are defeated, I want to go back all the way through the battlements to get to the merchant so I can repair the body armor. Although the way back has been vastly repopulated with enemies. None of them are really dangerous though, so I can just kill them, head back to the merchant, repair the body armor, and then take on the maze.
Oh my arsehole. Piss off. Just tried to parry a frog. Honestly, the best thing about Ashley in armor is not having to worry about shooting her. That's the best bit. Oh, I need to retire.
It took a while, but I cleared out the maze and opened up the way to the Grand Hall, which normally is a very peaceful and very tranquil place, but not on this run. What?
Yeah, so then Ashley would be dead.
After clearing up most of the enemies in the Grand Hall, leaving the ones that are way up on top as they can't hurt me, I need to get the 3 animal heads, picking the dining room first as it's the simplest. After clearing out the dining room, I make my way to the Knight's room, fighting through a ton of enemies, and then dropping into the arena, picking up the head, which causes enemies to spawn, and you guessed it, they weren't the usual knights. Stop! Oh. Man, the first time I done that, I was laughing my ass off. They were molding though. They came into my stream and everything. Excuse my fucking ring piece? Finally, onto the gallery, using the same strategy of funneling all of the enemies into a single area and taking them out one by one. With the 3 animal heads acquired, I can put the heads into the statue and move on to the Ashley segment, which is nothing interesting as it's exactly the same as it is normally. Starting chapter 10, I make a quick pit stop to the merchant and decide to just skip all of the loot in the library as I'm pretty stacked at the moment. So I press on towards the ballroom, and I must say this is one of the areas that are actually made a little bit easier because even though there is 3 times the amount of enemies, some of the enemies spawn under the map where Novistadors usually spawn, so they are no trouble at all. And overall, there are less Novistadors, which is such a pain to deal with in large numbers. Now for the infamous double Garrador room, which contains exactly 0 Garradors. However, there is a lot more enemies than usual, and they are also much more aggressive because there are no Garradors in this room for them to be careful with. The next area is the sewers, and this was way harder than it is normally. As a matter of fact. Okay, calm. Oh, is that... what the f is going on there? Yep, almost got bummed again. That was looking extra spicy, but I managed to live. The final part of this chapter is the Verdugo boss fight, which initially seems like there are no enemies. So I trigger the boss fight and absolutely destroy him with the Killer 7. This thing is such a beast. But when I open the door to exit the room, the onslaught of enemies begin. Starting chapter 11, which is usually a safe area, I'm bombarded by enemies, but I was able to take control of the fight and secure the area, talk to the merchant and prepare the inventory for the upcoming fight. The enemies here have developed some sort of cheats, because they seem to just walk through the blocked passage that requires the dynamite. Before dropping down into the mining area, I take out as many enemies as I can, including the ones that spawn behind me, to make it a lot easier to survive and reduce the amount of angles I need to defend myself from.
Please be careful. If I shoot Luis with this Magnum, if it's not shot based and it's fucking damage based, bro, he's dead. This might crash the game, but we're gonna go for it anyway. Oh shit. Not like this. Me. That could have been fucking shit show. Much power does the Magnum have? Hence to say I'm trying to use it a bit sparingly, and that's why I've got 7 billion ammo. It's going to be handy for this next fight, which I'm just going to fucking annihilate everything. Flash, boom, 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 take out the first Gigante, just go make fucking absolute beans of them. Off these fucking dogs, the Vistadors, so annoying. Stop. Can you, like, stop, please, sir?
Sorry, keep our friend busy for me. Where do you think you're going?
Oh, come off it. And we still have so much left over. Oh, we healing, boys.
The Magnum was just so clutch here. I killed the armored El Gigante so fast that I saw this interaction with Luis for the first time.
Fucking late, mate. What a pleb.
Luis unlocks the big door from the other side and there's a bunch of enemies waiting for me, but they taste defeat. The minecart section is basically the same as normal, but with a few added enemies at the midway point. One of them being a regenerator, which I hadn't seen for a long time, and wondered if they'd stopped spawning in this mod altogether, but it made no impact to me because the sniper rifle is so OP. The last area before the Krauser fight is the nest. It can be way easier than normal, or way harder. I got pretty lucky with the enemy spawns apart from these 2 regenerators that took a lot of my ammo. Now it's on to the Krauser fight, a fight that has to be done with only the knife along with extra enemies. But one thing I do have is this pretty okay knife.
Nice, he gets blown up by the f***ing dynamite. Like, so stupid, bro.
With Krauser dead, I get all my weapons back at the start of chapter 12 and can kill the remaining enemies and head up to the elevator to the merchant. I can use my rifle scope to assess how many enemies are across the gap. I take a few of them out and head over, and thankfully it wasn't too bad.
I think I heard a chainsaw.
Then onto the clock tower. The first part is much harder, getting rushed by multiple JJs, and hearing the sound of Verdugos, we're off to a great start. Luckily, when I actually reach the Verdugos, they can't get to me as they don't know how to drop down ledges.
Oh, kurwa bomber!
I fight my way to the top of the clock tower, making sure I don't get one shot by the big metal ball, and then head back to the merchant, just in case the elevator ride goes hairy. And after I go all the way back to the merchant, just to make sure that I was ready for the elevator, it was just a nothing burger. Barely anything spawned, and anything that did couldn't make it onto the platform. The only dangerous enemies were the chainsaw guys right at the top of the elevator, which I killed way before I reached the top. The last thing I need to do before the Salazar boss battle is fight my way through some enemies and make absolutely sure that I don't die by sprinting on the weak wooden beams. Up until this point, I've been able to save up some extra golden eggs from random enemy drops, and they will come in handy for this fight. And before I enter, I listen through the door just to see if I can hear anything that's scary.
I'm not hearing anything untoward.
And just like that, the fight is over. If I had bad RNG here, I would be absolutely screwed. You can get stun locked by various enemies and then just insta-killed by Salazar. Don't ask me how I know this, I just know. Pressing on to the end of the chapter, I'm ambushed at the bottom of the elevator, but I'm pretty stacked and can use some utility to clear out the majority of enemies and then progress to the island. Starting off chapter 13 in true randomizer fashion, there's about 10 trillion enemies between me and the merchant. And for once in this round, I'm actually running quite low on ammo, if you excuse the 37 magnum ammo that is. Although
Maybe
pretty
5,
quickly,
7
I've
and 8.
already lost the body armor and it starts to look a little bit spicy.
Oh my god, imagine. You need to be careful there. If I get comboed in 3 hits, I'm dead. There's a brute coming around the corner.
And in the midst of battle, Leon really can't resist doing a spot of bird watching.
No, don't do that.
It takes basically all of my resources, but I battle onto the merchant and can restock, repair, and rejoice in the fact that this is the furthest I've made it in this challenge so far. The turret section of the island is pretty similar to how I would do it normally, but the enemies actually know where I am this time and I have to kill every single one of them. Proceeding onwards, there's a couple of brutes in my way and also a Chief Mendez. Thankfully he's stuck, so I can just blast him away and steal his loot. And reaching the area where you first meet the rocket launchers in the vanilla version of the game, instead of running through there normally, there's just too many enemies, so I keep my distance and take them out one by one. Next stop is the area where you get the second elegant crown. I take out a couple of enemies before running back to the merchant as my armor wasn't looking too healthy, encountering a funny glitch when I arrive.
Yeah, I've got the striker charm on. A little bit of extra speed, pal.
Getting back into the action, I take out all the enemies and completely loot the area before heading into the facility. The facility just contained a lot of normal enemies with a couple of brutes thrown in the mix, so I blitzed my way through, destroying anything that stood in the way of my goal of saving Ashley. Not because I wanted to save her or anything like that, but it was because it's the only way to progress.
I can't tell if that's actually a regenerator. No, it's more standard enemies. This is a little bit annoying because I'm well equipped enough to have like stronger enemies, but like it's just, I don't know. It's just been JJ's brutes, Verdugos, spiders, Levistadors, villagers, soldiers. God damn, I'm finding this a little bit underwhelming. Maybe just because like the other seas have been like mega aids. Maybe the game's giving me a break, but we don't know yet.
I started to get a little bit annoyed because the enemies weren't very strong on that particular seed and I wasn't really in any danger at all.
Okay, now we're talking. Oh god. And that is exactly what Ashley is, in armor. That is why Ashley is in the armor. Alright, now I can lock in. That's going to be a good bit for the video anyway. I take back what I said. I almost got spawn killed right off the jump there. Oh, we have a run on our hands, boys. We have a run on our hands.
I spoke too soon. The difficulty has absolutely ramped up for this chapter. Thank God Ashley was in the armor though, otherwise she probably would get insta-killed by the Garrador spawning right next to me.
off, man. Oh, bro, they've cooked. They've cooked on this chapter, boys. They have applied a large amount of pressure to my anus.
Pressing on, I get to the crematorium, littered with enemies once again. I take them out and tell Ashley to pull the lever, allowing me to progress.
Bro, Gyarados literally spawned on her. She'd be dead.
But when the enemies spawn in, I am reminded that I should be grateful that Ashley is in the armor. A Gyarados spawned on top of her and just started swinging. She would be dead with absolutely zero counterplay. I managed to clear out the area and progress to the sewage pipes, running into a little bit of a problem.
Will it let me even open this door? Switch positions? Yeah, let me try that first. Nah, she doesn't want to touch it. Oh, no, there we go. Thank you very much. And Nade's not going to do anything now. Oh, how's the nerves, guys? I was zoning out, to be honest. This run was getting so boring. But they started to cook on this chapter, which is good.
Now for the part where the bridge can be controlled. I start shooting a few enemies, but then remember I can drop some down using the bridge. And it was at this moment where I realised I needed to invest in some underwear stain removal liquid, because I just shat myself. Not taking any chances, I slow the pace down and take my time clearing out this area. I had to lower my heart rate after what I just witnessed. Even though apparently she cannot fall down, I for sure wasn't going to be trying that again anytime soon. With the area cleared out, I can turn on the power and defend Ashley from the newly spawned enemies. Thankfully, a Verdugo spawned and blocked the way to Ashley, slowing the enemies down significantly. And when I get back to Ashley, I kill the Verdugo without any issues. Not that I really need to or anything, but the inner loot goblin won't let me leave any stone unturned, hoping that it would drop the Magnum recipe, which is the only thing that really interests me at this point, as I have over 1 million pesetas and all of my weapons are fully upgraded. Next up is the bulldozer section. I use the no-hit strategy of flashing the enemies, using 2 heavy nades on the wall, and then defend myself. Now I leave Ashley in the bulldozer and just decimate the area, making sure that there is nothing that will take me by surprise, and only then let Ashley get out of the bulldozer.
Oh my god, so many helmets! Brother in Christ. I then decide to make good use of my upgraded knife by making some burgers from the cows. Sorry guys.
I hear some enemies at the top of the elevator, so I take some out from the ground before I start ascending and then look for the Verdugo, Magnum in hand. He is stuck however, so I can just use my pistol and rifle to take everything else out. Verdugo is next, and listening into the next area, I can hear a Gyarados, so I open the door and jump back over the window so that I would be safe. Well, it wasn't just one Gyarados, it was 3 of them, as well as being accompanied by a Verdugo. Once again, I am grateful in the decision for Ashley to be in the armor here. You can make her stay on the other side of this window, but this time she didn't, and would have been absolute mincemeat otherwise. I, on the other hand, had a pretty close shave.
That would have been a terrible way to go. She's fucking body blocking me. I was trying to switch to the Magnum, and then I got the prompt for the space, and I thought, well, I'm just going to tab out and press space, and then if I die, I'm just going to go cry.
Pressing onwards, Ashley is Gonzo once again, and I won't see her until the very last chapter. The next area had a ton of enemies once again, even some tricky ones like Iron Maidens and Mad Chainsaws, but I am so overpowered at this point that they are just no match for me. And when I am looting the area, I come across the best possible drop that I can get this far into the run.
Astaghfirullah.
Finally, I got the Magnum recipe. I tried to move on to the next area and the game crashed. The previous day, I was testing the same issue, and no matter how much I nerfed the amount of enemies, the game would just constantly crash. So for the Krauser fight, I had to disable the mod altogether, which is a shame because this area is pretty fun.
Oh, really? Thank God this isn't a hitless run.
Moving on to chapter 15, a chapter which has about 10 billion enemies normally without the 3x modifier, is already showing its strength by ambushing me right off the bat as soon as I load in. I was able to lock in and use my resources wisely to escape with my life.
Oh God.
I reached the top of this segment and Mike has an early entrance, already shooting enemies with his chopper.
Why is the chopper here already? What the?
I repair my armor and sort out my inventory before taking on this huge gauntlet of enemies.
Don't know why he's here early. This is kind of strange. Garador up there, he can't hurt me. At least not physically. He can mentally. I beg your finest of pardons. Fucking hell. What a fucking launch from that guy. Jesus Christ. That guy got Molotov blocked from the fucking cutscene. What a piece of shit. After all the time speedrunners have been cucked. I was just about to say, it only takes one chainsaw enemy to ruin the run. I'm detecting a crash imminently. So anyways, I ran back.
It wasn't too hard up till this point because I remembered most of the triggers for the enemy spawns, but this one slipped my mind and I started getting blasted.
Yep. I told you. Please no more. My brain can't take the stress.
With the first large area cleared, I can head up the stairs and start peeping into the second area that has 2 turrets and start popping them off one by one before actually entering the area and triggering the enemies to spawn. And once they've spawned in, back up the stairs and start taking them out from above. This is one of the best strategies in the entire game, making a very tough segment an absolute cakewalk. After I say goodbye to poor Mikey Poo, I fight my way through a couple of waves of enemies before heading to the freezer room, which usually has the regenerators and the body bags. A pretty scary room because once I go in, there's no turning back and I'm stuck with whatever monsters are in there. Or you could say scary for them, because they are stuck in there with me and my Killer 7. I've now entered the last section of chapter 15 and almost the end of the playthrough. I've made it this far. I'm getting pretty tired because I've been at this run for nearly 12 hours, but I have to lock in.
It's not letting me change my weapons or anything.
It has to be different.
Don't crash the jet ski. I won't crash the jet ski.
Chapter 16. I throw a flash grenade as there are enemies surrounding me as soon as I load in. I take those out and open up the door, where I'm greeted by a large wave of enemies in front of me and above me. I fight my way through the first part of the cave and leave some enemies behind that can't get to me. But after the game loads in the boss arena after going through this door, the game crashes because there is just too many enemies for the game to handle. So I then defeat every enemy in the first part of the cave and then battle my way to the merchant.
Oh, what kind of fucking AIDS is this?
Before entering the boss arena, I can take out a lot of the additionally spawned enemies from above, but I don't actually have a whole lot of ammo left. I had to use some grenades as well for the enemies that I couldn't reach with my usual weapons.
Me, bro. That was so fucking stupid of me. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. No. Bro, I'm skint, man. What the f is this? I don't have the gunpowder, though. I can make 12 more handgun ammo if I need to, but... Can't I just bum rush the fucking... the jet ski? Oh, GG then. Oh my god, I'm shaking so much, bro. I'm gonna lose on the fucking jet ski, aren't I? Bro, I almost that's so hard. Yes. Oh, it's done, bro. Oh, my eyes. Damage for content? That was not damage for content, bro. I was full sure I was gonna lose it though. What the fuck?
The run is finally over, and a wave of relief fell over me. I was over the moon. There was a couple of squeaky bum moments there at the end as well. Somehow I didn't die to Saddler from this attack, running out of ammo at the last enemies and almost choking on the jet ski. But before I go, I want to share some statistics and some fails about this run, and oh boy, there were some absolutely brutal ones. Before I get into some statistics and fails of this run, I want to give a quick shout out and a big thank you to the team over at Biorand who have made this tool for absolutely nothing for the entire community to use. If you want to follow them, I'll leave their links in the description, and if you want to financially support them, I will leave a donation link as well. I also want to say that this is the most fun I've had in a Resident Evil challenge in a very long time, so big thank you to Biorand. The first stream of this challenge was on the 7th of November 2024, and the completion stream was on December 4th, 2024, so it took nearly a month of runs to get this challenge done. Most of the 73 deaths were in the early part of the run due to various reasons. It could be lack of ammo, terrible combinations of weapons like Chicago Sweeper and the hand cannon, although I turned those weapons off later on because they were really bad and also kind of boring. It could be impossible combinations of enemies with no guns to deal with them, or it could be impossible combinations of enemies in, say, the prison section when you've only got your knife and one green herb. I lost a few in the prison section on chapter 2. There was like 3 chainsaws, 1 in each room. You get killed. An Avistador in each room, you get completely stun locked. There's absolutely nothing you can do and you just die. Hence to say I capped the max enemies to 1 on that section because it was just getting impossible to do. But obviously the most annoying deaths were caused by Ashley, and I'm sure that's no surprise to anyone. I'll just show a few of them now. I'm hearing chainsaws. Oh god. I didn't put her in the locker, did I?
Stay here.
Okay.
Because Ashley, bro, what the
Look away.
Oh, here we go. I'm dead. I can't make it out of this, I don't think. Oh. Oh god. No. Run into them. Flash. Oh, for the love of God. Okay, I'm done. Ah, yes. Yep, so she's going in the armor now. So yeah, they were pretty brutal, especially like the one with the chainsaw walked past the locker. Apparently there's an interaction where if a chainsaw Ganado walks past a locker with Ashley in it, the locker will break and then Ashley will jump out. And obviously she has to jump in front of the chainsaw guy while I've killed him, and then she dies. That one was brutal, and to slightly justify putting Ashley in the armor a little bit, I did increase the chances of insta-kill enemies spawning. So that would be like chainsaws, and probably the most annoying one and scary one was the plagas that insta-kill you with a bite. There was a lot of those.
And throughout this challenge, I did have some brutal deaths quite late in the run. They've got a little bit of raging in, but I'll show those clips.
Are you f***ing my asshole, man? Oh, come on, man! Oh, God. Bro. I'm gonna get stomach now. Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. This is. Oh. That's a shame. That is far from ideal. Oh. Okay. I mean, not really much I could do there. You just get stunned by everything.
And just like the RE4 Remake No Damage video that I made last year, the first run that made it to the island was actually the successful one, so that's a good coincidence. And with that, I just want to say thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you've got any feedback, please let me know in the comment section, and have a happy 2025.